And hello, everyone. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with my co-host,
Tank.
and we're here on the front lines in the battle against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all those that wish to enslave us for their own selfish reasons. How's it going, Tank?
Everything is what it is. Everything's wonderful. You know, I'm excited about what's happening later on in this day. I like to live in the moment, so I don't like to talk about tomorrow exactly, but later on today. I expect great things to be happening and breaking through. You know, we had the big New York State. New York State. We had this meeting about the documents, right? To bring these documents so we can officially establish the assembly. And in doing that, what happened is everyone really started to dive into the language, right? And this is what I discovered. Okay? The cabal has mind screwed all of us so much that we can't use any language. There's no word for human, for person, for people that exists that doesn't have some backdrop. Nothing. There's not a single word in the English language. People goes back to person. Person goes back to slave, back to citizen. What's the other one? Human goes back to human that isn't inclusive of children. Everything. Everything you can imagine, it all goes back and just, you know.
So can we speak Iroquois?
Unfortunately, most of us can't. There is words that I know they told me that we probably should be using.
Well, maybe you put those words in there, use my technique for dropping the first letter, doubling the second letter, and then say this is now the definition of these words. So they sound familiar to us. So instead of bank, we have ankh, which, not to mean the Egyptian symbol ankh, but
that is a terrible idea. We're already confused enough.
yeah, already confused. It's like Pig Latin, but a new version of it, right? So that way we have words that we can use, and then we just use, just as in the Iroquois word, this now means that. So it's easy, we don't have to speak Iroquois, but we, in essence, use the Iroquois words and their definitions. Yes, it was just a thought.
I decided no, personally, my personal attitude about this is every document I do from now on will be defined. I will add a whole list of operational definitions. So there's no question about what I meant. I defined it, right? Because it's ridiculous. You can't get through anything. So we had a 2-hour meeting tonight, and the first document, right? The original phrasing, it's like the Declaration of our Unalienable Rights, right? Declaration of our Unalienable Rights. And then this is where that's as far as we got that we all agree on. Declaration of our Unalienable Rights. The next part says, held by. Now, the one out of Michigan says held by indigenous powers. Well, we don't want our rights held by indigenous powers. Like, what does that mean, right? Because indigenous powers is actually mentioned in the UN documents, and does that mean that they control it, right? So everyone kind of pulled back on that. So then we said, well, by the sovereign individual. Well, the problem is the sovereign, anything associated with sovereign has been targeted, right, by the FBI as being a terrorist organization. And individual goes back to person, and person goes back to slave. Oh my gosh, it is impossible. It's impossible. So, we spent hours and hours with it.
Yeah. Well, are you sure you can use the word declaration?
Honestly, I'm not.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not sure of anything anymore. I don't know what anything means. But to their credit, everybody, they stuck with it and they kept working at it, and really good discussions about it. So I'm sure we'll get somewhere pretty soon.
Well, that's it. You gotta stick. You gotta stick to it. You gotta keep pushing through, and you have to, try and push it with very small intervals in between. Don't let a day go by, right? Try to go right back to it very quickly. You might need, even if you could reschedule things, in the same day, try to do it that way. Because this is, otherwise you get too weighed down and too much time, and things seep in, and people don't have time in their lives to make anything happen, except now everyone's locked down.
Well, you know what? To their credit, we met Thursday, and we weren't quite prepared as we thought. So we all agreed we're going to review the documents. We'll come back on Sunday, and everybody submit their changes. So then tonight, 2 hours. I think that I got bumped off for an urgent matter. It was still going on like another hour later. So I think it might have been like a 3-hour call, right? Trying to decide on his words, and but this one term, the one term that came out of this, I really like. It is inborn.
Inborn.
Wait, yeah. Inborn. So this is what the definition of inborn is. Okay. Inborn is innate, implanted by nature as inborn passions, inborn worth. Right.
Okay.
That's it. Inborn worth. The inborn nature of something. Right. So, or the implanted by nature. So that is.
So we are inborn.
Right. That is what's given to us by God, but we don't. It doesn't have to be God. It can be given to us by the universe, by science, by giants, gremlins, whatever you believe in. Right. It covers everybody. So the inborn natural rights of
the inborn unalienable rights.
The people, including the children. Not the people the way the cabal means the people, but the regular people. So, and we the people means everybody, not just.
So in Kringle Gold, like the first couple of blogs that I did to talk about what we're doing, I made a blog about word bombs. Don't use these particular words, right? This, just a handful of words that basically, because if you use them, they come right back and they say, you use this word, boom, right? And they then give you a bunch of legal issues to deal with. So I know it's really a pain, and I think, defining all the words and everything is a very good way to go about it. And it's but you still you have to go through this process, right? And try not to, on the most damaging words, you wouldn't like to want to use the word slave, for example. We the slaves.
We, the Union of Slaves.
Yeah, the words are the most egregious. Just stay away from them, right? You wouldn't want to. You don't really think that you're not really doing that anyway, and so on. But in this case, we're talking about
citizen. These terms. It's like we have to put and just say, look, we are well aware that you, the cabal, came up with all these rules for your corporation. Now, why would I have to abide by the rules set by a corporation of which I am not a member, of which may have tried to say,
you agreed to be a member by not saying you're not.
No, I didn't agree. I didn't know the terms of the agreement, right? Yeah. Just like if I go to Walmart, you can't trick me into buying a house, right? Like I'm at Walmart, right? I'm here to buy stuff. There's an understanding of what I'm here to do, right? And just because Walmart has an agreement that if you buy a Magnavox TV there, they now own your soul. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't, right? Like you cannot do that anymore. That's bullshit. And
well, you didn't question why they were making you sign in your own blood.
Right. That was a whole conversation today. A young lady brought on, this one of these divine contracts, right? But it's not divine. It's under canon law. So you know how corrupt those documents are. It's like, you're going to put your thumbprint somewhere after you cut yourself in blood, but not on the actual document. It's like, but it's still a blood oath, right? Is what you're saying. And they're trying to steal your DNA, basically. So it's crazy, It's all crazy.
Yeah, it is. It sounds like it's moving forward. That's a good thing. I do want to focus on this new video that came out today. It's from a nurse who's not in New York, relaying and being the voice of a nurse who is in New York, inside the hospitals, and claiming that that they are murdering people. It's pretty heavy. I'll just share my screen with you so you can see it. Now I'm gonna actually play this to our audience. I'm going to show it on a different, other than what I'm showing you, because I downloaded this. All right, and I remastered it to bump up the volume, because the volume is pretty low in the beginning. So I'm going to just go ahead and play this.
This video go viral. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate messages after this. Frankly, I don't care, because this could save someone's life. I'm a nurse practitioner. I am licensed and certified. I am not on the front lines. I have a friend in New York City who's on the front lines. And for her safety, she cannot come out and say these things. So I am her voice. I'm not going to name names of people or hospitals for the safety of those involved. But this is her account, okay? I am her voice here. I'm going to tell you what she has told me. She wants this to get out. Now, I'm sure this is not the case everywhere. I'm confident. I have friends that are in other places. They're on the front lines. They're in ICU. And it's not like this everywhere. But in New York City right now, in some of the hospitals, this is what is going on. People are sick, but they don't have to stay sick. They are killing them. They are not helping them. She used the word murder, coming from a nurse who went to New York City expecting to help. Patients are left to rot and die. Her words. She has never seen so much neglect. No one cares. They are cold and they don't care anymore. It's the blind leading the blind. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I was on with some nurse friends of mine, and we were discussing different medications that could be used to potentially help people. Doctors who were reporting around the country that they were using a combination of medications that were helping people. People were not dying when they were on these medications. They were getting better. Those medications are not being used in hospitals in New York City. What is happening is that they're putting people on nasal cannula. If they require more than 6 liters of nasal cannula, they get intubated, they go on the vent, or they get trached if there's not enough vents. They don't get high flow, no non-rebreather, no non-invasive ventilation, no CPAP, no BiPAP. They're on a closed system, the ventilator, versus a CPAP or a BiPAP for fear that it will spread the virus. Which, by the way, I know a nurse in Florida who was fired for exposing that about CPAP and BiPAP and patients being put on the ventilator, like straight away to the ventilator, to be on a closed system. The patients don't know any better. They don't have family with them. There is no one there with them to advocate for them. So they are scared and they give consent. The ventilators have high PEEP, high pressure, which then causes barotrauma. It causes trauma to the lungs. Dr. Siddell, Cameron Kyle Siddell, a few weeks ago put out a video. He's in New York City, and he put out a video saying something is not right, like we're not treating this correctly. We're doing something wrong. This doesn't make sense. They pulled his video from YouTube and they took him out of ICU because they couldn't have one doctor going against the grain, going against their protocol. The protocol is propofol or some kind of sedation because they're on the ventilator, and IV antibiotics. There's no hydroxychloroquine. They're not using that combination with Zithromax. They're not using zinc, vitamin C, high doses of vitamins A and D. They laugh. This is what she's told me. They laugh at that. She says this is a nightmare. It's out of a horror movie, and I don't want to be a part of this. There are people who are a full code, and yet if they crash, they're not doing compressions because it will spread the virus. Full code, not doing compressions. Family is not there. They have no one to answer to. No one is being held accountable. A code was called and no one came. So sometimes they're not even resuscitating people. Again, left to rot and die. They're not given blood because we know that the blood is not oxygenated in these COVID patients. We know that. There are doctors all around the world sounding the alarms. These are the drugs that work. This is the pathophysiology of the disease. This is what's happening. And for some reason, it's not changing. Even though we know, some of us know what's going on, nothing is changing on the front lines. They stay in the same PPE all shift, except for the top pair of gloves. So 2 pairs of gloves, or I don't know, maybe more than 2, but they're only changing the gloves on the outside. Gown, mask, whatever else stays the same because all patients are COVID patients. So if it's a COVID floor, it's all COVID, but it's not because some of them are rule out COVID. So even if they're rule out COVID and they're not COVID, they're going to get COVID because they're using the same PPE all shift and they're carrying that contamination to all of the patients. They're not changing their PPE. They're not going into rooms. So they're running long tubing into the room so that they can manage the tubing from outside of the rooms. So if they're not going into the rooms, that means they're not assessing the patients as frequently as you would be otherwise assessing your patients. They are not doing rapid result tests. You're lucky if you get results in 5 days. Okay, this is coming from my friend who is in New York City right now on assignment, who went there to help, and this is what she's finding. It's a horror movie, she says. Not because of the disease, but because of the way it's being handled. She said we need help, and people are sitting there waiting in the hotels. Money, I guess, being paid, it's being paid for by FEMA, and yet they're still understaffed. And there are hundreds of people, hundreds of nurses in the hotels waiting to be called onto a shift. So there is manpower enough if the goal were to actually save people. But resources are not being utilized properly or to full capacity in a way that maximizes the patient benefit or improves the outcomes. The records and charting are crap. And now some of these hospitals in New York City are probably crappy on a good day. So you add in the fear of COVID and the fear of the whole pandemic and forget it. So if you're in a crappy hospital with crappy nurses, let's face it, all of us nurses have worked with crappy nurses before who don't care. So now you add in this, forget it. And they're having people do things that they can't do. So maybe things that they're not proficient in. So maybe a nurse who's not familiar or comfortable with using a ventilator. And it's that figure it out mentality. Figure it out. These patients are critical and they're crashing, figure it out. So nurses are being celebrated as heroes, right? We see how like the fire trucks and the police are like lining up and practically having these parades and celebrating them as heroes. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure in some parts of the country and other ICUs, I have friends that are working on the front lines in ICU and they are good nurses. And some of them are heroes. But we have nurses being celebrated as heroes who are killing people. They're not heroes. And they're being brainwashed to think they're doing something great just by going to work because they're brave enough to go to work. Well, what are you doing at work? You're certainly not saving people if you're not even running codes. You're not even going into patient rooms. You're a coward. You're hurting people. You're killing them. You're contributing to the problem. I know I'm going to get hate mail for this, and that's fine. Because people are dying who don't have to die. Again, there's no family there, so no one's being held accountable. And once these people get intubated, they're being scared into giving consent to be intubated, and then for a lot of them, it's over. And there's nobody going to be held accountable. And there's nobody looking out for them. They are completely by themselves. There's like a total lack of critical thinking. It's out the window. And people are scared to speak up. And one person alone isn't going to change the overall culture of a hospital or a system or a city. Like I said, Dr. Cameron Kyle Seidel's video was pulled from YouTube, and he was pulled from the ICU for sounding the alarm and going against the grain. So people are sounding the alarm. It's just not changing anything, apparently. So what can you do? Buck the system. I'm really fortunate. I don't have any family in New York City that I personally have to worry about. If there are people that you are worried about, or maybe it's not even New York City, maybe you're in another city that's being really hard hit and you're just hearing really bad things coming out of that city, buck the system. Something is wrong in the system. So go against the grain. Request records immediately. Records, transcripts, immediately. If there's a medication that you want your loved one to be given, report it as an at-home medication and demand that it be continued. That's just a tip from inside the system. If you want a medication to be given, you've got to report that it's an at-home medication and that you demand that it be continued. Your loved one is not going to have you in there advocating for them once they go in. You're not allowed in. The only reports that we're able to get of what's going on are coming from the inside, and people are afraid to speak out. People have lost their jobs. Do not give consent for intubation if you don't want to be intubated or your loved one to be intubated. Demand non-invasive or less invasive ventilation methods. As soon as you give that consent, you might not come out of it. Now, in some cases, it might be appropriate. We just don't know. We know that it's being used inappropriately in a lot of cases, and that the ventilators are making people worse. Please share this video, make it go viral. People need to know this. This is the truth of what's going on from my nurse friend who's in New York City right now on assignment. This is murder, she says. People are being murdered and no one cares. Horrible care.
Amazing.
You know, it is really, yeah, I have some first-hand information here on this to kind of give some reference, right? So, I can tell you that I spoke to a nurse today who came up again from down south to work in a nursing home, right? And volunteered to give us information. And said, look, we'll give you all the information you need, right? Or whatever you want to know, we'll answer for you and we'll even look out for things, right? So I spoke to him today, and I said, so what's the state of the union? You're in a nursing home, right? There must be nonstop deaths, right? Been here 3 weeks. Not a single death. Lots of COVID, not a single death. That's what in a nursing home. Second thing, when he got here 3 weeks ago, the nurse got here 3 weeks ago, they said they were in the patients who were confirmed to have COVID were roommates with someone who did not. And the people who did not have COVID still don't. It didn't spread. They were sharing a room every day, 24/7 roommates, did not have it. Now,
which means how did it get spread? I wonder if he had a flu shot and they didn't.
Now, here's the next thing. This is upstate. This was not in the city. This was upstate New York. Now, in upstate, they said, well, they were using chloroquine and zinc. Knocked it right out. Nobody's dying. Here in New York City, what she just described, right? They were laughing. Now, they were laughing at people. Now, I spoke to some people as well in the Bronx who actually had gone in because of COVID, right? Or they had friends who had gone in, who had died and all this stuff, right? And they all had, every one of them had pre-existing conditions, every one of them. Now, the Bronx, right? Now, the Bronx is a very populous, dense area, right? There's not a whole lot of really comfortable areas to live in the Bronx if you like space, right? That's one. Number two, about 2 years ago, they came out and said the water that has been in the Bronx on tap for the past 30 years has more lead content than the water in Flint, Michigan at the height of their alleged crisis. And it's always been that way. Right? Because all the pipes have lead in them. So all the pipes that are used for all the plumbing in the Bronx is filled with lead, right? Now, it's probably like that in other boroughs too, but in the Bronx, I know that for a fact, right? I've actually spoken to the guys who do the water analysis, right? So now, this is the state of the union of the Bronx, right? Now, you have this population dense. Now you have the income in a majority of the Bronx. I'm going to say about 70% of the Bronx is probably, they're not killing it. Let's put it that way. Like, I'm not saying that it's not impoverished, but there's a lot of areas that are run down in the Bronx, right? Now, that means there's a good chance they're targeting on some level, right? Because Lincoln Hospital, I've heard, is an absolute war zone, right? Now, that's the only hospital. I've been to Lincoln Hospital, and on a good day, it's a war zone, okay? So, this is pretty normal. So imagine now it's just a COVID hospital. Now you can take people and you basically, all you do is you code them, or like you put them in, like this is who they are. Now, what she didn't say specifically, but what she was referring to, she didn't use this word. They are not charting. Okay, so the way you know someone's getting healthy, you go in, you check a chart, you fill out information, and oh, you're improved, oh, your vital signs are better. This is charting. So now you can see, oh, somebody came in at 10:15, somebody came in at 12:15, somebody came in at 1:30, and there's a chart that shows a record of what the hospital's done. They're not doing this. All they're doing is chalking up pandemic, corona, COVID-19. So now what that does is it gives them a license to do nothing. This is why people can make TikTok videos while they're in these war zone hospitals, right? This is happening. I have now got it from at least 5 direct sources within these areas, and I'm hearing it from all types of places. And these are people I know directly. So this is not a rumor anymore. This is a fact. This is what's happening. So my question is, we know what's happening. There is no question, right? We know that there is a large portion of the doctors that are oblivious. They're just treating the same way. They're treating using this exact same technique. And we know out here, who are watching from the outside in, that if oxygen failure is the problem, now here's what's happening. Listen, this is very important. What is taking place is that the COVID-19 responds more like an allergy than a pathogen. So you have these 3 added proteins, right, that are similar to AIDS and cancer, right? They're not naturally there. Every research look at it says this is definitely man-made, number one. Number two, So what's happening is this is creating an issue with the oxygen being able to enter into the hemoglobin of the blood. That's why the combination of the chloroquine and the zinc does so well, because the zinc will push out the toxin, like, and allow the oxygenated blood to get in there, or the white blood cells, something to that effect, right? Now that might not be exactly right, but that's pretty close. So this is what's happening. So now what would happen is, if you hook someone up to a ventilator, they're not getting more oxygen. What they're doing is they're getting more exercise. So it's forcing compressions and high pressure into the lungs. Like she said, it causes damage. So now, if you have oxygen failure, your blood's not getting enough oxygen, your brain's not getting enough oxygen. What's happening? Now, you don't force someone to work out then, right? Because this can cause cardiac arrest, it can cause a million things. So what they're doing basically is they're putting them on ventilators and then ignoring them.
Yep.
Because they know once I put you on a ventilator, pretty much you're going to die,
Yep.
right? Now, whether it's just negligence, they just don't realize, or they do realize and they don't care. Either way, every one of these people needs to be held accountable. I mean, like, these hospitals need to be put on notice immediately. Matter of fact, that might be the first order of business with New York Center. Because I am furious just thinking about this. I want records, I want access, I want to know what they died from. I want to know how you made this decision to put them on a ventilator.
Well, I think family members need to go and get their family members out of the hospitals, get them off of the ventilators. I don't know what that does or what that process would look like, or how to get them on the right medications, but they can't just let them sit there and lay there, where they just stick them in a room and wait for them to die, right? This is atrocious. So the family members have to take action. And sad for the people that don't have anyone outside, and and they have to storm the hospitals, right? They have to demand to get these people on the right medications.
I'll tell you what, my personal attitude is like this, because I know how this goes down, right? We'll come up with these conclusions, right? And there's lots of hospitals that are not doing this, right? They're doing the best they can. Now, I've got reports from all over. I know that North Shore, Long Island Jewish over here, in Nassau County, that they are leading with vitamin C, right? They're intravenously introducing vitamin C to the body, right? So I'm sure there's lots of hospitals doing good things, but for the kill zones, right? Let's be honest, this is what this is. These are kill zones. For the kill zones, if you are working in one of these kill zones, we are going to create a way for you to submit an affidavit with Lawful America at lawfulamerica.com. You'll be able to contact us directly. We will come, have it notarized, and we will create an identification code so that your name is not made public. So that you can actually put out an affidavit and you can say, look, this is what's happening. I swear the identity will be kept secret until the case is resolved, and it'll be held, which is our lawful right in the case. And we will hold it and make sure that it's kept safe and private. Now, we'll do that because, and then we'll make sure it actually gets to court too, by the way. We'll bring it to the assembly, to the grand jury, and use it as evidence because we have to. They're not doing anything. You have these criminals in government that are pushing this stuff, and we're all sitting back. What happens when you get sick and you got to go to the hospital and you have no options, right? What happens? Now what do you do? Now all of a sudden you can't ignore it anymore, right? Now all of a sudden it's not somebody else's problem, it's your problem. Right? And you don't, and how many of us know how to deal with oxygen failure? Right? Now, if you don't know, tell a friend, go to the Speak Project. It actually says on there, Sherry Edwards from yesterday, from Friday night, she breaks the whole thing down. She tells you exactly what to do. Right? She gives you a whole process that balance the vitamin C and the elements in your body and using all free frequencies, all free. So tell your friends in the Bronx, Sherry said this too. She said they should be playing this music, this exact tone, this frequency. They should be playing it because it would treat everyone in the emergency room. They should be playing it at the entry gates. So many of these hospitals stand up and do the right thing. How difficult would it be to actually cure people? Just put out these frequencies, play them in your waiting room. Put it to the challenge. Show us we're wrong. Do that and watch what happens. You change a whole freaking country. It's amazing to me. That's how, we tried to do this before, Dan, with the Speed Project. We tried to go live 24/7. And I try to play the binaural beats, these frequencies, when when we went live, just play nonstop, so people would always know, hey, I can go there, check this out. We got it right now. Right now, we can do this. You got people going insane, dying. You got people, real good people dying who did not need to die. That is the most important thing that woman said. She said, people are sick, but they don't need to stay sick.
Right.
That's how I feel about ignorance. People are ignorant, but we don't need to stay ignorant.
Well,
It's time to change.
Well, the interesting thing is at this point is the people within the hospital that are speaking up. I mean, the doctor that she referred to that came out and said that this is the wrong way to treat them, more like high altitude system. We put up his video. Now, I didn't know that video has been taken down. I didn't know that he was fired, right? But this is why this is a battle, right? They're out there. There's people in the system that know that this is wrong. They need support, right? They need to have support from the people, to identify the people. Because and her coming out right here and that nurse telling her that this is murder. It's murder.
Yep.
Right? This is really what we're dealing with. It's not like it's a mistake, right? It's designed to kill them. Right? And there's nothing
people that has been trained to be inept too. I mean, you have to think it takes a special kind of personality. Someone who's in a hospital just to get a paycheck. Right? They don't care. Hey, less work, great. They chalk it up to, hey, people die in hospitals, big deal.
Right. Yeah, those people don't need to be in hospitals. They don't. This is so atrocious that what's going on here. Please take some action. If everybody gets fired, right? So go start another hospital for these patients. But we got to bring up the information. Dr. Shiva did another video, and I was listening, and he said that Fauci wrote an article on how he uses vitamin C whenever he's in dealing with other people and everything, so he doesn't catch something, he doesn't catch a virus. He uses 1,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C. But now, if he's asked about vitamin C, he's downplaying it. But if you go look at the article he wrote, years ago, he's playing it up. Well, what's the difference? Well, one, right now, he's going to make money off of a vaccine. So this is why this information has to be made there. Now, I guess that Dr. Shiva said that his letter got to Trump, and Trump read it. So that's good information. But he's got Fire Fauci on his website. I think Dr. Shiva for Senate or Shiva for Senate. I have to look it up. But anyway, it's easy to find. Just look up his Dr. Shiva. You'll find it on Google. That's how I did. And go and sign the petition. There was 89,000 when I went and put my name in for the petition to fire Fauci. But that's just like step one. The other is arrest Fauci. For criminal war crimes. Because of what he's doing is treasonous. It's against the people, right? And to actually take these patented HIV, genetic strands that he basically patented, and then when the U.S. said stop, you don't put this in coronavirus. Stop, don't do that anymore. We don't need to do this kind of experimenting. We have a moratorium, stop. He moved it to China and made sure money went to China to fund it.
Everybody out there in New York, Cuomo wants to use us as an experiment, which, by the way, is a direct violation of our human rights. And any idiot who signs up for that, you deserve to be a slave. Like, everybody needs to get educated. I mean, we need to stop messing around with stuff. This is dangerously close, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I get it. We win in the end. Okay. Good guys win before that. And you know what happens? It doesn't happen because you sat back and waited. It's because you gave every single thing you had And right at the end, we pull this off because we're right at the end. We're right at the end, and either they're about to topple things over, and it's going to be the United Nations coming door to door, taking your kids and injecting you with vaccines, and you will have no memory of your kids. You'll just be control, or or we win and we take it over and we kick the UN off the planet, whatever else that needs to happen. But these things need to take place, and it happens from you, right? It comes from the inside out, right? That's the reality. That's you want to pray to God? Guess what? The Bible says it is the Father both to will and to do. In other words, if you have the desire to do something, that's Him. That's God.
Do
so
it.
You're in line, and then go do it. That's Him too. You win. You actually get to be, a spear for God. However you see it, it takes people taking action right now. So that's all I got, Dan. I think we should end there and keep the message strong. What do you think?
I think it's good. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. This is important. Take this time to go ahead and spread this video. Let me do one more thing. Let me just go ahead and share the video with everybody. This is actually her page or her video, so you can find it. It's under a plain truth for you, right? And I suggest subscribing and setting the notification bell. But give a like, right? Let's get this to go viral. So right now it's 28,000 views right here. You can also do it for the video we're on right now, right? Where you included that, so just make sure that we can get moving. I posted it on my Facebook. I said it's a murder going on in New York. Hospitals are in no discouraged. Make it go viral. And it's important because they are killing us. And please ask others to repost, retweet, share this video. And then I put it down here in the comment section as well, right? So I suggest you do those things, on your Facebook. Do it everywhere you can. I mean, there are some people that are posting it. It's being talked about on Reddit. Here's another person that posted on theirs. Anyway, that's my suggestion. Please go ahead and try your best to get this information out, because we really need to go ahead and make a move, right? Do something. This is not a lot for you to do it. You'll be done in 5 minutes, right? We need to all act in unison, right? We need to do it. So please take some time and do it now. With that, we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Tim. Have a great night.